they're gonna get theirs, and once I get to heaven, I'm gonna get mine. And I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't accept that. So this is called One Day in the Land of Milk and Honey. And you see underground these men that are essentially the same person walking in a circle. And on the top is a guy kind of dressed in business casual, I would assume, business casual. And he's above, he's got to a certain extent, to a certain height, right? But he's still kind of squished, But there's an idea that, and you can say it started off from slavery, that we will be free once we pass. We will be free when we get to heaven. But I don't want to wait for the land of milk and honey. I want it now. I want it now. So in the kind of the imaginary window, you have like this black figure kind of reaching out and pointing. And I used like that as like the land, literally the land of milk and honey. And I borrowed it from a European painting, but the water is essentially milk. It's whiter than like the water that was in that piece. And in the other corner, the right corner, there's like a menacing dark figure that's kind of peeking out. But essentially that's like the priest reaching out and tapping this guy in the shoulder to continue that circle, that endless circle, that he won't get into this space or into this land until he passes. And the very successful man is kind of going to stay squished, right? Then I started to really experiment with different ideas, like how to break out of the frame, how to kind of move painting in a direction where I can essentially see a piece from all sides. So I thought about this piece. While I was at Yale, you have a lot of people that come into your studio and they're throwing a lot of ideas at you. And people come with their own agenda, right? They want to you have people that come with their own agenda. They want to steer you in one direction. It's not necessarily the direction you should take. So I like to juxtapose a lot of different things. I think the same as Caravaggio, as I think of, let's say, a Jay-Z or a Nas. I think of Velasquez as a Stevie Wonder, or I think about all these different things that kind of circulate, right? Or Malcolm X, and the piece is called Come Study With Me. So essentially, any position, I built a crate, which is almost like a casket as well. Any position that you walk around the piece, you see a different perspective. And I'm always interested in how to bring somebody into my world, right? When you're standing in front of it, I want you to feel like you can kind of step in, or you're a part of the action, or you're kind of invested in what's going on. So that's what this piece was. And you see in the reflection, there's a woman on the other side. You can see her chin. So you can kind of stand into the woman's perspective of what's going on there. This, I did this piece, which is called Batman Was Always My Hero. Because he is, but he can't save everybody. It's just unreal. And this was done during Occupy Wall Street. There was a lot of stuff happening during that time, and I really felt like, what can art do? Like, I was at the point where I was like, what am I doing? I'm making these paintings and people are out here protesting. Like, what does this mean, right, to create in this way? And essentially, I was like, Batman can't go to all these places and save all these people. I think about a lot of different, I think about comics, I think about history, and those things all come into my pieces. So on the left side, you have Detroit, downtown Detroit, it's burning. And on the right side, you have where I was at for grad school, which is New Haven, which is also an interesting city because Yale is smack dab in the middle of a huge black community that is really similar to Detroit. So once you come out of that Yale bubble, there's this thing called a Yale bubble. If you're in that bubble, everything's really expensive. The outside of the bubble, it's regular prices. But I wanted to talk about, the comparison and contrast to these like huge institutions. so you have like GM, you know, you see that back there. But there's people kind of going crazy. There's a lot of stuff happening in this painting. Let me see if I'm doing the right thing here. Oh, look at that. So this is like a burning car. There's a man up here throwing another man off a building. I think there's some people down here running naked. It's just a lot of chaos going on. Because I really felt like during that time, I was like, okay, this is going to be it. The system is about to just go down. This is a wrap. These rich people are not, you know, 1% is down. This is over. But we know now that was kind of like I guess it was like a little spark, and it kind of sizzled. And they made sure to deal with that pretty quickly. But it's essentially a self-portrait of me kind of talking about these issues. And then I did this. J.M.W. Turner is a British artist, British painter. Again, I like to look at a lot of art history, a lot of contemporary painters too. But I wanted to use kind of the expanse of greatness that you see when you're standing in front of a large landscape painting. And I wanted to combine that with a social aspect, so the Occupy movement. But the thing about this painting, which is it's called Revolution on Your Front Porch, is there's a lot of different things going on in this piece. Down here is the Confederate Army, and they are kind of impeding in with policemen on this like Occupy movement. You can see a couple signs here. You have some stuff that's taken from another painter, Peter Bruegel. That's a direct reference for a Peter Bruegel painting. Then you have these servants here who probably served this master's house. This is essentially just a wealthy person that had, you know, hired some servants. And they're, you know, they're celebrating. Then you have people kumbaya, you have some lovers here, you have a dog that's just looking. You have a person that's just standing still doing nothing. So, I mean, you know, Peter Bruegel, J.M.W. Turner, let's see, the wedding, what is the wedding party this year? The big inspiration of mine. So, you know, I love those paintings where you kind of got to do the Where's Waldo, but there's just really amazing things going on. But I wanted to combine it with the greatness of a landscape. And essentially what this is downtown New York, this is Manhattan. And this is an image from Detroit. This is like industrial. And what I did, because I think a lot about religion in my work, and I'll show you more elements of that when we go further on, but this is heaven, and this is hell. So you have the financial over here, you have labor, you have hardworking people over here. And some really crazy stuff happening over here. She is drowning a baby right here, and I don't know what happened to him, but he's there. This woman is holding a gun to her head, and this guy was, I'm assuming the owner of this house, is running away with a bag of money. So there's just this paint, there's a lot of stuff to look at. This is taken directly from Occupy Wall Street photograph of police officers kneeling on the back of this man. So I like to combine different histories. This piece is a direct painting from a piece that I did in undergrad. I just took the center out and painted it. So this is a painting that I did in 2012, and it's called Revolution on the Front Porch. So while I was at Yale, I took a class that was being taught by a painter that's married to Lisa Yuskevich. I can never remember this guy's name. But he took us to the Met, and we saw a couple paintings, and there's a really small copper painting by Peter Paul Rubens. And I've seen a lot of copper paintings here in the Dutch galleries that I really like, because copper is a really nice surface to paint on. And I always wanted to do it, but what I usually saw was pieces that had an oil ground on it. Oil ground is something that you paint on, and then you add more paint to it. It kind of gives you a nice surface to work off. But when we went to the museum, he showed us this Peter Paul Rubens, and it was a painting called Young Scholar. And he said, you know, you can paint directly on the copper, and all you have to do is treat it like you were working on an etching. You have to clean the grease off. If you don't clean the grease off, essentially you can pull the paint directly off and it'll be horrible. Nobody will buy it because it wouldn't last and they'll be mad at you. So I decided to try to work on this copper surface because it reminded me a lot of Egyptian portraits that were done in encaustic with gold leaf around it. And I wanted the copper surface. Another reason was because of W.E.B. Du Bois's idea of double consciousness. And I thought about the reflection, right? Because when you're standing in front of this piece, you get a reflection, but it's not clear. It's not like a mirror. It's tinted. So it's the veil that essentially W.E.B. Du Bois is talking about. So whoever stands in front of this piece their skin color is tinted brown. So I did a series of these, and the copper pieces will be important for other pieces that I'll talk later on, other than these two pieces. So, talking about this. So the reason that this is in here is because I really like Manet. He's a great person. He did some good stuff. And he did this painting in 1863. And the name Olympia was commonly used as a term for prostitute in Paris during that time, which is the title of this piece. And the crazy thing about this piece is during the salon, they had these competitions where they would fill the ceiling the wall, people would enter with paintings. If you were up high, you kind of sucked. If you were low, you were good. If you were eye level, you were perfect. They hung your paintings right there, you were the man. That's where you were supposed to be. But this painting in particular, they hated Manet. They didn't like the way he painted because it was very kind of stark, right? Everything was kind of bleached out, blown out. A lot of people say he used a photograph because the flash is right in front, which is why you have kind of limited drop shadows that he used the camera. But the thing about this painting was that it was such a controversy that they hung it high on the wall, not because it was so bad, but because onlookers tried to attack it. So it's crazy to think that, you know, this is their HBO, this is their television. They go and hang out and you're like, oh, did you see that new joint? I saw it. They had all this stuff and it was crazy. So, you know, but to think about that sense, right, that this painting was so crazy that they had to hang it high because people would try to attack the painting. And my thing about this painting is not so much that it's a naked woman. There are a lot of, you know, historical paintings during that time with naked women. But what is interesting about this painting is the black cat and the black woman in the background who's serving the flowers. Often in the beginning of photography and in painting during this time, black women, essentially what's happening in this painting is that the black woman, is representing the exotic. She's representing that white woman's sexuality. So she's not even able to possess her own sexuality. And that's why I think people wanted to attack the painting, because they had this black servant in the background, kind of exoticizing, creating a taboo image, right, for this prostitute. So that brings me to probably the worst painting I've ever seen in my life. This painting. And this painting is by, I think he's Dutch, Christian van Kovenberg, and it's called Three Young White Men and a Black Woman, and it was painted in 1632. Now the thing about this is that, you know, we see lynchings, we see photographs of those things, we see historical representations through movies and film of racism, of slavery, but to see something in a painting, that really tells you, because these are things that people hung on their walls. These are things that some wealthy person paid for, and they put it up, and they had people come look at it. So this gives you a different idea about that time period and what was going on. But what's really you know, what kind of like just makes me go crazy is that the men are laughing. And something similar to this, which recently happened with Don King, is Donald Trump. And Don King, you know, his dumb self, is, you know, basically saying N-word, but you have these, I think it's like, it was Donald Trump and then like three guys behind him, but they're all laughing. So you have something